Welcome to the Guild Tremor Video Strategy Guides. I'm Danton, one of our main tanks, and today I'll be explaining the Rotface encounter within Icecrown Citadel. Rotface is one of Professor Putricide's creations and must be dealt with to precede to Putricide himself. Rotface has 7.3 million hit points and has no real enrage timer. However, Rotface will place diseases on raid members at an ever-increasing rate until they overwhelm the raid. This is what we refer to as a soft enrage. Our guild uses 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 6 DPS for this encounter. Rotface is tanked in the center of the room with 1 tank. The other tank can initially deal some damage to him, but needs to move to the outer circle to wait for oozes to spawn, where he will kite them around. With this in mind, there are several important abilities to be on the lookout for. While I won't go into detail of how much damage gets thrown around, here's a general overview. The first is a debuff called Mutated Infection, which Rotface places on a random player other than the main tank. When the disease is cleansed or falls off, a mob called Little Ooze will spawn and attack the player who had the debuff. Our guild designates a single player to cleanse this off, usually the Ooze Kiter, myself. Anyone else cleansing this disease off too early will assist in dealing the raid unnecessary damage. At this point, I want to make it clear that it is the individual player's responsibility to run the diseases out to the Kiter. Failure to do so will lengthen the encounter, cause unnecessary raid damage, and most likely get other players upset at you. You have been warned. This little ooze starts with about 500,000 threat, according to Omen Threat Meter, against the player and is not tauntable. The little ooze has a few abilities, mainly a slime spit and a nasty AoE aura. If 2 oozes are moved near each other, they will form up into a big ooze. A big ooze has the same abilities that the little ooze has, but with a little more damage. It also has one new ability called Unstable Ooze, which is a stacking buff from absorbing other oozes. Once the big ooze gains 5 stacks of this buff, it will channel, then cast Unstable Ooze Explosion. This ability causes the big ooze to explode and launch small ooze balls into the air in an arc towards all players. At this point, we usually call for everyone to scatter, or to move a fair distance from where they were standing to avoid the massive damage these ooze balls cause. As for Rotface, the only abilities of note that he does are to melee the tank, spray some ooze in a cone in a random direction for 5 seconds, and to occasionally flood a quarter of the room with ooze. Our guild usually has someone be on the lookout for a slime spray and calls it out to help the other raiders. Keep in mind that the encounter's mechanics will happen faster and faster until the point at which your raid will not be able to keep up with the damage going out. Overall, the strategy is to run the infection to the Kiter if you have it, wait for it to be absorbed, and then run back to DPS. If there's an explosion, scatter. If there's a slime spray in your direction, move. If you're standing in slime, you're doing it wrong. That's about it. As I'm usually the Kiter for this encounter, there are a few tips I'd like to toss out there, especially Paladin Kiters. One is to always be aware of your surroundings. While this should be common knowledge, it's pretty important here. Don't unnecessarily run through the ooze due to the other raid members needing to bring you the little ooze mobs. Yes, you can run through and survive easily if you're a tank, but at the very least cast Hand of Freedom on yourself. Lastly, be visible to raid members. Announce where you are every so often, or mark yourself with a raid target. It helps out more than you think. As always, thanks for watching our videos. If you have any questions, I encourage you to post them in the YouTube comment section below, or feel free to visit our website forums at www.fieldthetremor.com.